Hello and welcome back to Fred in the Shed. First, apologies for regular subscribers because you have seen this all before. What we got here is a magnetic loop radio antenna. This was sent to me for Banggood for testing and review. It's an odd design. It's a single loop with two variable capacitors. Normally on a transmitting antenna you'd have two loops. You'd have a smaller coupling loop. This one is more like a receiving loop. However, the manufacturers claim this will tune from 40 meters on the handband all the way up to 10 meters, and that passes the 11 meters 27 megahertz band that I'm interested in, so it should work for CB radio, and it could be an ideal antenna if you cannot put up a large 18-foot base station antenna. Well, that was the plan behind the video. I did have a few issues. I will briefly go over them on this video. If you want the full details on how I got this antenna to work, there are 3 separate videos. I will leave links to those in the description if you really want to get into this loop antenna. But anyway, let's get on with the review and let's see what comes in the box. In the Shed channel, you'll know by now that I'm a pure 11 meter CB guy, mostly sideband. And yeah, I do know I do use HF equipment, and I do appreciate that some of you have an issue with that. I do respect your opinion. If you want to just leave a comment, we can discuss that in the comments. So I've steered away from mag loop antennas, mostly because of the price. They're aimed pretty much at ham radio operators, and consequently the price has been quite high. Even for a receiving antenna, they're quite expensive, let alone a QRP transmitting antenna. When I first saw the price of this magnetic loop antenna on Banggood, I had to do a double take. £69.91 UK price. It is incredibly good value. I did check other UK sites such as Amazon, and it's twice that price. So at the moment, as I'm making this video in June 2023, Banggood have got this at a killer price. Even though this is an extremely good value loop antenna, I did feel a slight bit of disappointment when I opened the box because there's no instructions at all. Nothing to tell you how to put this together, even just a basic photocopied A4 sheet. Let you know what the controls do. There's a switch, and I mean it would have made things a little bit easier. I've never owned a loop antenna before. It does look fairly basic how it goes together, I can see that, but I do feel a simple instruction sheet would have been a good thing. In fairness, they have tried to supply you with everything to get you started with the loop. Straight out of the box you have a coil here of RG174 coaxial cable with 2 female BNC plugs. I don't know how long this is. When I've unrolled it later on, I'll put it up on the screen there. Personally, I think this is probably just about okay for receiving. As far as transmitting goes, I'll be replacing this with simple RG58. Got a pack of connection plugs here. We have 2 right angle elbows there, female to male BNC, and a small adapter which is a male BNC to a female SMA. Next bag contains the main controls for the loop antenna, 2 variable capacitors, the top coupling capacitor, this is for the frequency tuning. The bottom one, of course, that's going to be your impedance matching. It's in CB terms, it will be just a matcher. That's how we're going to adjust the SWR. They say this will tune down to 1.2 SWR. I think up on 11 meters, I've got a feeling it's going to be a little bit higher than that. I'm hoping for about 1.5, something like that. And then we have another little box, which I assume looks like a balun. So I just think, again, this will be for the impedance matching to try and bring this in at roughly about 50 ohms, which is what the radio will be looking for. And then finally, we have the self-resonating induction loop itself. Must admit, that seems quite nice quality. So I think what we'll do now, we'll just run through some basic specs of this mag loop antenna, and then we'll take it downstairs and we'll get it set up. The tuning range of this antenna on HF is 5 all the way up to 30 megahertz. They say the power input is a maximum of 20 watts on SSB. I think that's pushing things a little bit. Personally, I won't be running 20 watts into the antenna. I think I'll stick to probably a maximum of 10 watts. The antenna is also tunable to 110 to 150 megahertz, so you can receive the aircraft band, and also apparently resonant on the VHF on 400 to 450, so that covers the 446 PMR band.
Set up now in the garden, and I think this would be a typical mobile DX setup with a tripod and the loop. Safety wise, you don't want to be too close to the loop when it's transmitting. There's quite a lot of RF comes off the loop. Some people use these indoors for transmitting. I wouldn't recommend that. I think you want a good 4 or 5 foot away from the loop there. But there it is. Now, also you've got to consider it's only a small loop. That's never going to replace the sensitivity and the performance of a full 18-foot base station antenna. But hopefully we can get something. Radio to start with, I've got the switch on the downward position there, so that's for the 11 meters, and I've got the 2 controls set dead center. So firstly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little tune of this control. Now it's very difficult because I've just got to use my ears. I haven't got a scope. If you had a spectrum scope you would see it lift up and down, so I'm just going to tune this to see if I can hear the static increase and decrease, and I'll see if I can get this as best I can. I'm going to be using the balun that came with the radio just to get the impedance of 50 ohms, and then we've got some good old RG58 for this test, which should be absolutely fine, and that's straight into the back of a very basic cheap SWR meter. It's a bit difficult without having some visual interpretation, but I know you probably can't hear it on camera, but it seems better as I go towards the bottom of the scale there. I'm going to try the SWR now. So we've got this set in the upright position, we can go either way, and hopefully that will get us a baseline. I want to get the SWR below the red sector on the meter, get it nice and safe. So the only problem with using a loop antenna is that every time you change frequency you have to go back to the antenna and retune it. Right, I'm going to check SWR now. I'm going to go down to channel 1 on the UK FM, and then we have to calibrate the SWR meter, so let's do that now. Okay, so as you can see that was very high, almost off the scale, so there's quite a bit of adjustment we're going to have to do to get that into the safe band. I'm going to try going this way, so we're just going to put that all the way round now to the maximum. Just check the SWR, see if that's lower or higher. Going to recalibrate again. Yeah, and that's still off the scale, so we go the other way on the setting. Just going to recalibrate the meter again. And okay, well that's gone down, but that's still an SWR of 10, which is quite high, isn't it? Let me have a little play with it and see if I can get it any lower. See if I can get it down to its low. Obviously, I've got a bit of a problem, and this antenna isn't going to work on the CB band straight out of the box. I did contact the supplier twice for some tuning instructions and advice. Unfortunately, they just didn't get back to me, so I was on my own. I had no choice but to go inside blind and see if I could adjust the antenna. Now, I'm not going to go into details on how I did that on this video because it just takes too long, and like I say, there are 3 separate videos in the description if you want to go away and have a look
how this is done, but needless to say, with a VNA nanometer I was able to adjust the trim pots on the variable capacitors, and I was finally able to get this antenna to tune on an SWR on 1-to-1 on the CB band. Once again, we've set up the loop, hopefully get a contact on it today. Very conscious about trying to get my distance away from the loop when I'm transmitting, so going to use the Radioddity CS47, this little one-hander, because I've done the power mod on this radio, which you've probably seen on a separate video, and I can choose 4 watts, 8 watts or up to 18 watts. So I'm going to try 8 watts through the loop antenna. They say it will do 20, but no way is that going to do 20. So I'm going to do a quick little audio check now, just back to the shed shack, to make sure that the audio is not distorting. So let's see how that sounds.
Audio check 1 2. Yeah, audio 1 2 audio. Audio check 1 2. 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 4 audio.
Contact's got a perfect SWR today of 1-to-1. Keying up, and the needle doesn't even move. So we're going to give Dan a shout, and I'm really hoping that this is going to work. Yeah, Dan Hatfield, do you copy? Fred in the shed?
Breaker on the side.
Break on the side, come in.
Hello Daniel, good afternoon.
Oh, hello, weatherman. How the devil are you?
I'm very good. How am I coming over on FM this afternoon?
Yeah, fine. Yeah, signal a bit lower than normal, but yeah, it's fine. Good audio. Lovely microphone, that.
Stop it.
Yeah, how's the family doing?
Hey, where's Fred? I thought he was coming on here.
Yeah, that was your idea, Fred. Are you out there, Fred? Fred in the shed?
Yeah, copy Dan, I'm here, I can hear you both. Hopefully you got a copy on me.
Do you want to give me a shout there, Steph?
Fred in the shed, are you out there, Fred?
I'm out there, Steph, I'm coming back to you. You got a copy on Fred there, Steph?
Yeah, I just went on the 305 and I heard Fred say go down to the Muppets 30, so...
Yeah, well done.
But I was trying to come back to you, but obviously you couldn't hear me.
No, the receiver seems to be working well then, but transmit... I think I could hear a little voice in the background, in with the hash, the white noise, but it's Steph. I thought you could pick up the odd word, I think. Can you, Steph?
Yeah, I thought I heard you come back to me, Fred, but the over was so short I couldn't really
In the shack. Bit disappointed, I'll be honest with you. I was hoping for instant success. It never happens in radio. I was encouraged though how clearly that loop was picking up FM. Normally I get a lot of noise on FM being home based, and very little noise, and both Dan and Steph were coming across really nice. Just didn't get enough power to get out. However, I did do some internet research, yeah, and this is so Fred in the shed, isn't it? Just go for it, loads of enthusiasm, have a go, run out of ideas, and then do the research. If you're watching the videos, the way to do it is to sit down for a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or a vape or whatever and actually do your research first, but I don't do it that way. Anyway, did some research, and they said on a ham radio thread, and bearing in mind no one on the ham radio thread is trying to get a contact on the CB band on 11 metres, 27 megs. It's a notoriously hard band to work because everyone's using vertical antennas and everyone's got a lot of noise, high noise level. So no one's got a contact on 11 metres that I can see. But one guy was trying to get it to work on 10 metres, and he found that by raising the loop up on a pole, he found the sweet spot was 3 metres, about 10 foot from the ground. He found that his transmit signal was improved. However, the downside was that the noise level went up. And the consensus of opinion on that particular thread was the guys come back and said, yeah, your power will go up, but it's not really worth it because you're going to lose the clarity of the receive, and that's fine. But obviously I'm not getting out, so I need to get a bit desperate, and I need that. That's what I need to do. So the next part of the video, I want to try on sideband because there'll be less noise on sideband, and hopefully the guys might be able to hear me with a weaker signal. Going to use my President Grant 2. This is
typical Fred in the shed. I forgot to press record on the camera for the setup, and I missed a chunk out. Let me just take you through what I've done. I've set the loop back up on the tripod about 3.5 feet off the ground. I've moved it nearer the house, try a different area of the garden, adjusted the tuning controls. I've got an SWR of 1:1 on the Grant 2. So here's the next bit when I try and make contact with Dan.
Around about 4:30 times. I might be on mobile, maybe, but anyway, Mary had a little lamb. Its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go.
Well done, Dan.
Long enough, but I'll leave it at the break and see if you come back and see if you've got anything tuned in there. Back to you, Fred.
Hello, Dan. I don't know if you're getting me. I got you perfectly cued in there. That was very, very good over. So I'm coming back to you now. 1664, London Coney. Coming back to you, Dan. Do you copy?
What we got here, we've got a USU 450D, and
you hadn't stopped.
On a 22-foot pole. So you're getting anything tuned in? Back to you, Fred.
Yeah, I got a copy, Dan. I'm tuned in now. That was a lovely little over for me there. I'm coming back to you on the 305. I don't know if you're receiving me, but 1 2 1 2 audio back to you. Yeah, Dan, coming back to you. Audio 1 2 1 2 1 2.
But I'm getting some local noise here. If you can hear me, can you come back? Well, if you can hear me on the receiving hook here, can you try changing, going up one channel, the next channel up, 315. If you've got a low transmission, I might be able to receive it on there. I'm going up to channel 31 now and see if I can receive anything, so give it a shout.
Yeah, okay, Dan, on 31, you getting anything? 1 2 audio 1664.
I think I've got a Roger beep there. This is 4428 calling from Hatfield. Anybody receiving there? Come back.
Yeah, 4428 1664 coming back.
So make very low down there, Fred, but I got yeah, I got it. You're just getting over the interference. It's unfortunately the frequency isn't clear today, but I can hear your voice, but I can't quite get all the words. I'm getting the odd word. I know you're talking away there, and I can hear you. I can make out the odd word, but it's not very powerful there, Fred. Back to you.
Right, let me just go and talk to him on the 6900. I'm going to raise it up onto the pole. Right. Check this out. This is so Fred in the shed, isn't it? Too much enthusiasm, not enough knowledge. So there it is, look. I got it up on the pole, and I've estimated that's about 3 metres. 10 foot or thereabouts. Might just be a fraction higher. It's a little bit leaning to one side, but that shouldn't make any difference because it's obviously a circular radius, isn't it? Hopefully it will stay up there just for this test. And yeah, there we go. Very precarious. So I'm going to go on the radio, going to go on sideband again and give Dan a shout, and hopefully he'll be able to hear me. I mean, it's only 6 or 7 miles. It's not very far. A lot more noise. A better signal, but it's bringing in a lot more noise. Yeah, copy Dan, copy Dan. I'm getting you. Got a lot more noise though. Now I've raised it up a little bit. Getting a lot of noise coming in, but I'm hearing you. And getting back to you. Hopefully you might be able to hear me this time. So 1 2 3 4 1664 return.
Yeah, it's a bit stronger signal there, Fred. You're definitely coming through. But yeah, you're still coming out pretty
Yeah, I'm still getting a lot of noise. We could try FM on this frequency, and as I say, I'll only be on 4 watts, but it might be a bit clearer. Do you want to give it a go?
Yeah, you want to go do that now?
Yeah, Dan, you got a copy? You got a copy on Fred?
Yeah, I've got you, Fred, go on.
Yeah, I got you clear, Dan. I'm getting you about signal 5 or 6.
Oh, well, that's not bad, yeah. It's, your signal here, with a preamble on, it's 3 to 4. But it's coming through without interference, so it's not as clear as it could be, but it's, yeah, I can understand you.
Yeah, I got a copy. Yeah, I'm getting that same crackle as you as well, Dan. It might just be something on the band. I've got a little bit of crackle coming through your audio, but I can definitely hear every word you're saying. So I couldn't get it to work on FM yesterday, but so I am running. Well, it's only running 4 watts, so that's 4 watts on FM. And yeah, very pleased with that, Dan. Back to you.
Yeah, you're picking it with a signal 4 to me at the moment. And your audio is a little bit on the quiet side, but it's okay, it's working. It's doing a biz, so there you go, well done. I was hearing you reasonably good on the side band as well, especially if I put it. There you go. What do you want to do now?
I'll be honest with you, Dan, I'm probably going to call it a day because I've got to pack all this away. And it's getting near 5, isn't it? And the good lady's going to be coming home. So I just want to thank you, Dan, for doing the radio check on me. You'll be on the video as well. And just to say, you really helped me out today. And just want to say thank you, Dan. Over.
Yeah, you're welcome there, Fred. Yeah, it's. Are you? Do you see you're closing down now?
Just going to cut Dan off there in full flow. The rest of that is on the other video if you want to go and watch it. So, conclusion time. Well, yeah, unfortunately, this wasn't the antenna that I was hoping for. I was looking for something that I could get out of the box, set up relatively easily. I didn't really want to go inside it and make those adjustments. And I just hoped that for someone that couldn't put up a large vertical antenna, this mag loop would allow them to get some local contacts. I wasn't necessarily interested in long distance DX contacts because normally there's lots and lots of people trying from the UK running quite a bit of power. I don't think you would get heard on a QRP loop. No, it was local contacts I was looking for. Putting it up on the pole, yeah, okay, it did work, but then that defeats the whole purpose really. But I was impressed when it was on the ground on the first part of the video and I was receiving Steph and Dan on FM. They were coming through nice signals, very, very clear audio with absolutely no noise at all. And even though this antenna has failed in what I set out to do, and that was for an absolute beginner to use and set up an antenna, if you've already set up maybe with a large base station antenna, and like a lot of people, you have just found it totally intolerable on CB radio due to the amount of static and noise that your antenna's bringing in that you can't hear anyone. If you bought this loop and you used it on a low height on a tripod at ground level, it's possible you could use this as a receiving antenna and you just carry on using your large base station antenna to transmit. You'd have a dual antenna system, and I think it would work quite well. So it's quite funny how things turn out. Anyway, it's been a lot of fun playing with this antenna. It isn't exactly expensive at about £70, and I have enjoyed using it. I'll leave a link in the description to Banggood if you want to go away and have a quick look at it. I'm not on any commission or any after sales, anything like that. They sent it to me. I've enjoyed playing with it, and I'll let you decide. So I think that's about it. As always, I'll give you the thumbs up virtually because you can't see me, but please give me the thumbs up down below if you found the video interesting. Don't forget there's 3 other videos on this antenna if you want to go into this subject a little bit deeper there on the channel, and I'll link those in the description as well. But that's it from Fred in the Shed. As always, thanks for your view time. Cheers, and I'll catch you on the next one.